Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 horror thriller Play Dead. The film is directed by Patrick Lussier and it stars Bailey Madison, Jerry O'Connell, Anthony Turple, Chris Lee and Chris Butler. Now the film focuses on Bailey Madison's character Chloe, who is criminologist. She's like a student studying to be a criminologist is what I'm trying to say. And you know, she's struggling with money. She's got a brother that's into petty crime, her brother TJ, and TJ and his friend Ross decide to pull off a robbery. However, they're not very smart. Number one, they don't get away with it. And number two, they planned this robbery on an iPhone. So his friend Ross gets shot at the robbery, presumed dead, and taken to the coroner. Now, once Chloe finds out that Ross is presumed dead and at the coroner's, she realizes that she has to get in there and get this phone back because her brother is implicated in this robbery on the phone. So with her being a criminologist, she's got knowledge of medicine. She uses a drug that she gets off the black market to kind of play dead, hence the title. So she puts this drug in herself, and it gives the symptoms of being dead, and then she wakes up a couple of hours later, sort of thing. She wakes up in the coroner's and she goes looking for evidence, but what she actually finds there is something far more terrifying. A coroner who is a little bit dodgy because he is keeping people alive there and harvesting their organs for profit. So therefore, a cat and mouse game ensues between the two of them so that she can get out alive with the evidence that she needs. Right, what are my thoughts on Play Dead? Well, I think the concept for this is actually quite clever. I quite like the idea of this one, the thought of it. It's one of those films when you kind of read the synopsis, you're kind of thinking, this could work if it's done reasonably well. And in actual fact, this has been done reasonably well. It's a well-made film. It's got a director who knows what he's doing, who has directed, I think, things like Drive Angry and My Bloody Valentine. So, you know, he's a very competent director. And he does manage in this film to create a well-made film with some well-thought-out characters and fairly well-written characters, I have to say. I thought Bailey Madison was really good as Chloe, this intelligent and resourceful young woman from the off, really, you know what I mean? She doesn't want to see her brother go to prison, so this is why she puts this plan in motion. And even when she's inside the coroner's and even when her life, you know, is on the line, she still manages to kind of, you know, outthink the coroner, who is played by Jerry O'Connell, who you will recognise from, I don't know, many things over the years. He was in Scream 2 and he's been in loads of stuff. You'll recognise him. So she's always trying to kind of stay one step ahead of this coroner, because the building that they're in, from what I remember from watching it, kind of used to be like a hospital. So it's kind of it's only used by him now. So it's a large building. So there's kind of a lot of room for manoeuvre in there. So there was sometimes films like this in the middle section. It can sag a little bit because it just kind of becomes a chase movie almost, you know, a hide and seek movie. And while there are elements of that here, it does also kind of shake it up a little bit with a couple of twists here and there. And what I mean by that is, you know, this coroner is working with accomplices. So you get to see how that develops in the film. You get to see the story with her brother develop in the film. And there's even a plot point with the guy that's collecting the organs that he is kind of, this coroner is taking illegally. He has kind of a plot line in the film as well, but it never it never suffocates the film, any of these plot lines. They all kind of slip in, and it doesn't overcome essentially what the two main characters, which is Chloe and the coroner. Now, Jerry O'Connell, I can't honestly remember seeing him in a villainous role before. But I thought he pulled it off quite well here as this, I mean, he doesn't say anything for a while in the film. He's silent, and I thought that was maybe what we're going to get the whole film, which might have been a way to go. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how it would have worked either. But this cold as ice killer, basically, it was, it's almost a cross between Dexter, from the TV show, and a slasher killer almost. You know what I mean? He was quite creepy at times, and certainly sinister enough. I thought he pulled off the role quite well. I think sometimes by putting someone in a role like this you don't expect, it could certainly work to your advantage, and I thought it did here as well in this film, because he's, it's even more appalling the things he's doing when you realise he's a family man. You know what I mean? So it kind of projects even this even more evil character that we are presented with on screen. So there's even as well a handful of what you would describe as brutal or gruesome. I mean, if you are veterans of torture porn films like the Saw films and stuff, it'll probably be fairly tame to you. But I thought there were some eye-catching moments in the film that made me wince, certainly. And there was a really good death scene in the film right at the end that was, I thought, really graphic and nicely done, that I certainly enjoyed watching. So it kept me, for the most part, entertained, on the edge of my seat. It's not flawless. It's not, there are, issues with the film, arguably some pacing issues here and there. But I was reasonably entertained with this one. If any of what I've said sounds interesting to you, then you could probably do a lot worse than checking this one out. So that's why I've given it the score I've given it, 6.5 out of 10. It was almost a 7 out of 10 for me. But I do think it's one of those films that some people will watch and just kind of shrug off and go, it's all right, I suppose. And it is all right, I suppose. But for me, it's a little bit above average, because I thought it was particularly well made, with some interesting characters and certainly an interesting concept. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. I'll be back with more content on the channel very, very soon.